this is Chris Davis, your video and feature producer here at 4Player, and this is your list of your top 10 favorite games of 2016.
Kicking off the community list with number 10 is The Witness. What's there to say about The Witness besides line puzzles? Hundreds and hundreds of line puzzles that leave you either elated that you were able to solve them or seething in frustration because there's some mechanic you just can't quite get your head around. We've talked a lot about this game over the past year, how Jonathan Blow did an amazing job of teaching the player a sort of puzzle language that isn't taught with tutorials or text, but by letting the player slowly come to understand how a particular mechanic works and how to combine that with previous puzzles and become a puzzle-solving master. It takes a lot of thinking outside the box, or I guess thinking outside the line, to master the complex world and all the mysteries that this game holds. The Witness has a beautiful and colorful world that's just as much a part of the game as the line puzzles themselves. Early on, the world seems random and chaotic, but the more you explore, the more it starts to make sense, and the more its secrets are revealed to you. When talking about The Witness, people often mention aha moments, or that moment when you finally understand something you'd been stuck on, like a light in your brain just switches. And for some people, those led to some of the best moments of the year. Can't wait for what Jonathan Blow throws at us next.
So, the community have chosen Let It Die as their 9th favourite game of 2016. An excellent choice. It's a game that I've been playing a lot of recently. I've become very addicted to it. And you don't need me to tell you how great this game is, because you know how great this game is. You wouldn't have chosen it for your 9th favourite place if you didn't. But I will say that one of the cool things is that I was completely ready to write this game off when it came out, because I do like Grasshopper's stuff, the stuff they've done in the past, like Killer 7 and No More Heroes, but their last few games have been not so well received. They were kind of generic action games, it seems, with like style over substance. Things like Killer is Dead didn't get such great reviews. And this one came out, and again, it was like low 70s on Metacritic. It's free to play, which isn't a model like I'm interested in particularly. It has some kind of negative connotations. But then on the podcast, Brad was saying how much he was enjoying it, how enthusiastic he was about it. And then the next week, it was Nolan and Crispy, and then you guys in the community were saying how much you were enjoying the game. And so I thought, yeah, I'll check it out. And I've just been addicted ever since. I think this game does have some issues, though. I wish I would stop getting annihilated by high-level haters on low-level floors. That's kind of irritating. And the combat maybe isn't the best. You know, certainly not as good as something like Dark Souls, and some of the grindy stuff maybe it gets a little bit tiresome, but this game always drags me back. And, you know, like I put this game down for a few weeks ago, and then I had a dream where I was playing Let It Die, and then I woke up wanting to play some more Let It Die, and then that evening, sure enough, I was playing more Let It Die. It gets its hooks into you so deep, and that's why I think it's a great choice for your number 9 spot.
Nolan's back with number 8 on the list, Hitman. The episodic release method seems like it's becoming more common, and Hitman should be a perfect candidate for it. Each level is self-contained, and the story isn't the draw of the game, but some of us weren't feeling it right away. I think it boils down to the fact that the first episode wasn't that exciting. Things got better, Sapienza was great, Bangkok was pretty good, and they finished the levels off with Hokkaido, which was fantastic. I hope Season 2 starts out with a bang to get everyone excited. The number of ways to take out your target leaves plenty of replayability to Hitman. I had so much fun making a save and taking out the target over and over with different weapons or different contraptions. One of my favorite things in Hitman is just throwing a blunt object at someone and hearing the satisfying clunk. Another great addition to the series is the fact that now when you beat a level, you can replay it with different targets and very specific objectives, like taking out your target in a specific outfit with a specific weapon. Also new to the series is the elusive targets, which add a whole new level of stress and difficulty as you have one chance to take out your target, and if you mess up, then you're done, son. Having a digital release system allows them to adjust these elusive targets and some mechanics on the fly, like how they did the public campaign Choose Your Hit, where everyone could vote online to kill either Gary Cole or Gary Busey, and the winner was the next elusive target. I think there's a lot of potential for Season 2 of Hitman. IO Interactive definitely stepped up their game this time.
The 4-Player community's number 7 game of the year is Dishonored 2. I'm actually really happy to see this game on the list, considering I felt like it didn't get nearly as much praise as the first one did amongst members of the site. I spent hours and hours playing this game this year, and I'm really glad that I did. I felt like the new continent of Sarkonos added a nice flair to the already fascinating world. The new robot enemies took the tall boys from the last game to the next level. And man, this game does level design right. There's not many other games that exist where you're being cleverly funneled into areas yet feel so free. Just the disparity in the levels. You go from an open city level to an enclosed mental asylum to a house that changes as you pull levers. It's crazy. There's even a level where you're constantly switching back and forth between the past and the present in this person's house, and because the level has both instances of time running in sync, you get to do some insanely cool things. There's an achievement on that level for stealing a key from a guard who's surrounded by other guards in this dining room, but if you go to the present, sneak under the table, and switch to the past, you can just grab it and no one will notice. There's another place where I was following this guard waiting for him to turn around. Then I swapped to his time period, choked him out, almost got caught, so I just switched back to the past. This kind of stuff doesn't happen a lot in AAA developed games anymore. They give you so much creativity in this game. The magic, guys, the magic is so damn cool. Domino is my favorite tool to use. Just the satisfying feeling of watching 3 guards get knocked out as you take down another below, that's just so awesome. There's so much to be said about this game. I just want more of this type of game to exist. Arcane, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are, put some of this cool stuff into Prey. You've got some smart designers over there. Put them to good use. And even if you don't use them on Prey, I'll be waiting for the next entry in the Dishonored franchise, because no matter what it is, DLC or another full-fledged game, I want more in this world. Make it happen.
And Salt and Sanctuary comes in at number 6 thanks to your votes. This is a game I really wish I could have put on my own personal list. Unfortunately, I spent a solid 5 or 6 hours with it, but I didn't find the time I needed to finish it. It really did resonate with me, especially in a year in which I played a ton of Dark Souls. And again, if you watched my top 10 video, you know that I love the Souls series. Any game that draws inspiration from that formula is okay in my book. This game resonated with me for the same reasons that I'm extremely hyped for games like Nioh in 2017. It borrows heavily from the Dark Souls formula, but at the same time makes it its own. For a series as deep and as satisfying as Souls, I never thought I would see so many games not only inspired by it, but also pushed to leave their own mark on it. Successfully too, I might add. Salt and Sanctuary does exactly this, which I'm sure is why so many of you cast your vote. The shift from 3D to 2D went a long way in making this game feel so unique. It was constantly surprising me in its ability to translate the complexities of something like Dark Souls to a 2D plane. The world still manages to feel vast and interconnected. The combat still has that weight to it that feels so visceral and satisfying. It's every bit as demanding of the player as well. In some ways, I might even say that Salt and Sanctuary is harder than Dark Souls. The switch to 2D means that some problems can't be solved by simply strafing or rolling. It makes other really smart changes to the formula as well that I find incredibly rewarding. The concept of winning back your salt by depleting only a fraction of a boss's health makes the game feel a little less punishing but far less frustrating when you find yourself head-to-head with a tough adversary. I also found the expansive skill tree to be far more engaging than the simplistic stat boost you get each time you level up in Dark Souls. Throw on the addition of Ska Studios' signature art style and an atmosphere that feels just different enough to differentiate it from Dark Souls, and it's easy to see why so many of you loved it. In fact, I just booted it up for a refresher before this recording, and I can already feel the itch to go back and finish it. In the past 20 minutes, I beat the False Jester boss, I found some new gear, and I reallocated some points on the skill tree now that I have a much better understanding of how weapon scaling works thanks to Dark Souls. Good choice, guys. This one was definitely a winner.
Over 4 years ago, Firaxis Games, the minds behind the continually great Civilization series, gave us something no one really expected. A reimagination of the all but forgotten XCOM series, and it was one hell of a treat. Serving as both micro and macro manager, you did your best to hold off an alien invasion with limited resources and slim allies, and it was damn fun. While many would end their campaigns in defeat against the alien invaders, some, like yours truly, succeeded in defending the planet. If we were to ever have another macro-style XCOM game like Enemy Unknown, one would have supposed that this sequel would take you on the offensive against the aliens themselves off-world. I don't think anyone could have guessed that we'd instead take several steps back and find ourselves in an even more precarious situation: the complete extraterrestrial occupation of Earth. XCOM 2's insurgency focus is one that's not often taken advantage of, especially when your title exists within the realm of turn-based strategy. Within the new confine, however, Firaxis' next entry found a realm of tension, intrigue, and excitement as you led your forces in a hit-and-run guerrilla war against the alien oppressors. Going from a stationary, ever-growing clandestine operation to a mobile, stealthy ragtag team of resistance fighters made for a surprisingly welcome change of pace, as it grew on ideas you'd seen under-implemented previously. The idea of networking with different cells, traveling the globe while avoiding detection from patrolling UFOs, and building up your mobile HQ, the Avenger, made the macro-level management feel even more weighted and meaty than before. The ground combat is probably where we saw the most drastic and welcome change, though, with the introduction of stealth gameplay. Stealth played well into being the sneaky rebel that you are, as firefights were far more interesting with, at least for the first engagement of a fight, you having control of the start of the fight, not your opponents. I love being able to sneak up on an enemy position and, through some precisely coordinated targeting, laying waste to entire patrols in a single turn. It was pretty cool. Admittedly, the game did have some flaws, especially at launch with some confounding optimization problems, as well as some balance issues that just didn't seem fair at all. Sure, I'll play a time-sensitive, stress-filled game like this, but when your turn structure doesn't acknowledge the function of stealth gameplay when boots are on the ground, you're doing something wrong. Thanks to mod support, though, most of these issues became minimal in scope. XCOM 2 was a great choice for a number 5 game for the community, and I only wish I could have found room on my personal top 10 list, but alas, it only could take my 11th spot. Good pick, guys. Nice job.
You, the community, have spoken, and your number 4 game of 2016 is Doom. I gotta say, I did not expect to like this game as much as I did when I played it when it first came out. I've never really been a fan of the series. I played traditional Doom back in the day, like when I was a child, and obviously didn't get very far in it. Haven't played any of the newer age incarnations of the series since, and I certainly wasn't expecting to be pulled in by this newest version. But hey, what can I say? This one did it for me. I think the real success of 2016 Doom is in nailing the proper tone. This isn't the sort of game where you want a lot of heady backstory, a lot of deeper philosophical discussions of human nature and morality and what is out there and all that shit. This is the kind of game where you want to grab a shotgun and shoot as many demons in the face as possible, and Doom 2016 does an excellent job of facilitating that. From square one, you hit the ground running, murdering and eviscerating your way through the futuristic Martian landscape covered in demon blood and ichor. It is absolutely delightful. I mean, really, what is there to say about this game? You're the Doom Marine, here's some fancy high-tech future weapons, there are the demons, get to work. That's it.
Overwatch. I'm not very fond of you, but I can't really deny the popularity that you've accrued this year. I hear nothing but good things about Overwatch. It seems that everyone likes it. I mean, and surely, if people like something in this scale, then it has to be somewhat good, right? I've also tried speaking with people in person, asking them, hey, so what do you think about Overwatch? Try to sell me on the game. And they just tell me it's good. They say it's a accessible game with a lot of charm that's easy to pick up and do cool things in a match, but that it takes a while before you're able to master maybe a couple of characters to where you can comfortably contribute to a team in a more competitive manner. Blizzard's pretty good at making games, I guess. They kind of always know what they're doing. Ah, Blizzard. There truly are the heroes that never die. I wish I could partake in this excitement too. Perhaps it's just me trying to, in one way or another, be hip by pretending to not enjoy something that is popular. To all that enthusiasm people display, I just want to tell them, dude, nerf this. But I don't feel that I'm being sincere. Maybe it's just jealousy that I haven't been able to get into it like everyone else has. And to be honest, I gotta give credit to Overwatch for its high noon becoming such a great part of modern gaming culture. Like, I bet even people that don't play Overwatch are able to recognize some of the catchphrases, and I think the play of the game thingy, I don't know if we should call it a mechanic, little play of the game moment, it's fantastic. It has the great amounts of music and excitement, and it's the little cherry on top at the end of every match. Even if you're not featured on it, it's still a great deal of fun. Character designs are pretty good too, and I like the variety. There's like a gorilla, there's like a robot, Vikings, big armored warriors, Russian strongwoman, all kinds of shit. It's cool, it's crazy. And I do remember reading somewhere that the sound for the hit marker is a modified version of the sound made by a beer can when it's opened, because it had to be like a subtle sound that's easily recognizable. And I just think that's a neat little detail. Why do I know these things about Overwatch? I pretend like I don't like it, but I still like to consume the things made in relation to it. I think my favorite character is Winston. I think he is the most out there character. You know, he's a super smart gorilla that wears glasses. Do gorillas need glasses? Is there a case of gorillas in the wild being nearsighted? How would it affect them? These are all things that I wonder.
Hey, do you like Dark Souls? Good, because here's more of it. It's Dark Souls 3! Now, just a disclaimer on this, because literally nobody else on the website wanted to record the audio for this game, I ended up doing it, and I'm probably only about halfway through the game. Which, you know, really sucks, because I love this series, and I really hate that I let it slide down my 2016 backlog. But hey, what I did play was quite enjoyable, you know, for Dark Souls. The challenge and the punishment and the strategy, it's all still there, all still in fine form. And I do really like the addition of the new weapons art system, even if it doesn't always seem as useful as the developers maybe intended it to be. But hey, I'm never gonna fault them for experimenting, you know? I will say that the world of Dark Souls 3 does seem, of all the Souls-like games, I mean, maybe even Bloodborne included, seems to be the bleakest, most kind of dire world that they've shown us yet. Not that the other Dark Souls games have been necessarily bright and cheery, but there was a bit more of like a colorful fantasy vibe to some of them, especially the original Dark Souls, I feel like. And this game is just like death and gloom and despair in every direction, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I also kind of feel like the bosses in Dark Souls 3, or at least the bosses I've fought so far, haven't really quite been as memorable as past bosses, with the exception, of course, of maybe the giant tree boss that you fight early on. That was kind of a cool, interesting fight. It wasn't just, some dude in scary-looking armor swinging a sword at you, which is what it feels like about 80% of Souls bosses are nowadays, which, again, nothing wrong with that, but it's nice to kind of break that up every once in a while and get a little variety going in the horrible creatures that are trying to murder you. Honestly, I think my biggest mistake with this game is when I started, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try and play a spellcaster. And the problem with doing that is that it forces you to rely on the Ashen Estus flasks, one of the other new additions to the game, to kind of keep your mana up to use magic, which cuts down on the available number of regular Estus flasks that you have. So that made especially a lot of early game segments a bit more of a slog than maybe they would have been if I had just said sword and board all the way, baby, But hey, you live and you learn. I am deeply ashamed that I have not finished this game. I have brought great dishonor upon myself and my house, and I look to rectify that situation in the coming year. But man, to be honest with you, I don't fucking know. There's so many good games coming out this year. When am I gonna have time? But you know what? If there was a game that it was worth going back to and wrapping up, I would say this one, Dark Souls 3, definitely deserves that attention. If you haven't played it, if you've never played a Dark Souls game before, check it out. This one might do it for you. If you're a fan of the series, I think there's a lot of good stuff that will make one more trip through hell worth it.
Your number one game, as voted by you all out in the community, is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. Your number one game of 2016. I'm a little surprised. I kind of expected like Overwatch to win because, a lot of y'all played it together. But whatever. It's not a surprise. Uncharted 4. I don't know how long we've been doing these community lists, but I wouldn't be surprised if Naughty Dog would always kind of tops it. And they kind of topped themselves here with Uncharted 4. It's not my favorite. Maybe it's not y'all's. But it is good enough to be considered one of the best games of the year for sure. Naughty Dog's just so good at telling a story and creating characters and writing for those characters. And god damn it, they put those actors in a room together and they just make these cutscenes that they're just better than everyone else out there. So it doesn't matter what fucking story they're telling. It's just so good. And it leads to so many great, memorable moments in this game. My favorite is probably, all the stuff going on at the auction, and god damn it, I love Sully. Any scene with Sully, he's the best. I'm gonna miss Sully. Is this really a Thief's End? Is there really not more Uncharted? Can there be a Sully game? I know there's that Chloe game, but I want a Sully game, damn it. Ah, man. A lot of the new characters are really good too. You had villains that were, people you really didn't like, and that's good. And then they had, Nate's brother, and he kind of comes off as a sleazy guy, but that's okay, because he is kind of a sleazy guy, and then, god damn it, Troy Baker did a good job being a sleazy guy. And, you kind of wanted to trust him, you kind of didn't, you kind of were on that roller coaster with Nate and everybody else in the story. And probably the best stuff in the game is the interactions between, Nate and his wife, because god damn it, man, it just seemed real. And when they got into arguments and fights and there was these awkward, quiet moments, you're like, man, I fucking been there. They're good at this stuff. They're good at this stuff. But really, I think the gameplay is really as good as it's ever been. It's just so smooth and seamless, and the way they implemented, the rope swinging and how it seamlessly transitions into takedowns and stuff. It's just, you kind of wonder how they pull it off. It's just so smooth and seamless. And, maybe it's not my favorite Uncharted game because I think ultimately this one was kind of paced a little weird and didn't have as much enemy variety and maybe set piece moments as 2, which is probably my favorite. But I could definitely see why you guys thought it was such a great end to this series and just a great outing for Naughty Dog in general. There you have it, your top game of 2016. Bravo, people.